Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome home. Welcome back, or welcome home to Radha Lane, where we all wish we could live, next to Radharani, Shri Neela Madhava's temple in ISKCON, Houston. And we are going to read the Srimad-Bhagavatam tonight. That's different. Welcome to everyone out in cyberspace and to all the lovely Vaishnavas here. We've got a packed house tonight. Wanted to eagerly hear Srimad-Bhagavatam. We're going to move into the 16th chapter, and we're going to find out how Pariksit received the age of Kali. But before we do, we're going to hear the beautiful glorification of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which we've been meditating on every night for quite some time now. This prayer is meant to be meditated upon. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram from Srila Sanatana Goswami's Sri Krishna Lila Stava. 108 obeisances to the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, which end with the 107th obeisance, or one before the last, which is Srimad Bhagavatam Mimostram, which is the glorification of the Bhagavatam. It goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drik Prada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidvan Duditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madgudo Man Mahadana Mannishtadagamad Bhagya Madananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin atini chochatakara hanamuncha gadachin mam prem narit kantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, now we're going to hear. Now we've heard the glories of Maharaj Pariksit, how he entered the world and all his wonderful qualities. And now we're going to hear how he received the age of Kali. Chapter 16, text 1. Sutta Goswami said, O learned Brahmanas, Maharaj Pariksit then began to rule over the world as a great devotee of the Lord, under the instructions of the best of the twice-born Brahmanas. He ruled by those great qualities which were foretold by expert astrologers at the time of his birth. Purport. At the time of Maharaj Parikshit's birth, The expert astrologer Brahmanas foretold some of his qualities. Maharaj Pariksit developed all those qualities, being a great devotee of the Lord. The real qualification is to become a devotee of the Lord, and gradually all the good qualities worthy of possession develop. Maharaj Pariksit was a Mahabhagavata, or a first-class devotee, who was not only well versed in the science of devotion, but also able to convert others to become devotees by his transcendental instructions. Maharaj Pariksit was, therefore, a devotee of the first order, and thus he used to consult great sages and learned brahmanas who could advise him by the Shastras how to execute the state administration. Such great kings were more responsible than modern elected executive heads, because they obliged the great authorities by following their instructions left in the Vedic literatures. There was no need for impractical fools to enact daily a new legislative bill and to conveniently alter it again and again to serve some purpose. The rules and regulations were already set forth by great sages like Manu, Yajnavalkya, Parashara, and other liberated sages, and the enactments were all suitable for all ages in all places. Therefore the rules and regulations were standard and without flaw or defect. Kings like Maharaj Pariksit had their council of advisors, and all the members of that council were either great sages or brahmanas of the first order. They did not accept any salary, nor had they any necessity for such salaries. The state would get the best advice without expenditure. Note to the Congress. They were themselves samadarshi, equal to everyone, both man and animal. They would not advise the king to give protection to man and instruct him to kill the poor animals. Such council members were not fools or representatives to compose a fool's paradise. They were all self-realized souls, and they knew perfectly well how all living beings in the state would be happy, both in this life and in the next. They were not concerned with the hedonistic philosophy of eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. They were philosophers in the real sense, and they knew well what is the mission of human life. Under all these obligations, the advisory council of the king would give correct directions, and the king or executive head, being himself a qualified devotee of the Lord, would scrutinizingly follow them for the welfare of the state. The state in the days of Maharaj Yudhishthira or Maharaj Pariksit was a welfare state in the real sense of the term, because no one was unhappy in that state, be he man or animal. Maharaj Pariksit was an ideal king for a welfare state of the world. Text 2. King Pariksit married the daughter of King Uttara and begot 4 sons, headed by Maharaja Janamejaya. Purport. Maharaja Uttara was the son of Virata and maternal uncle of Maharaj Pariksit. Iravati, being the daughter of Maharaj Uttara, was the cousin sister of Maharaj Pariksit, but cousin brothers and sisters were allowed to get married if they did not belong to the same gotra or family. In the Vedic system of marriage, the importance of the gotra or family was stressed. Arjuna also married Subhadra, although she was his maternal cousin sister. Janamejaya, one of the Rajarshi kings and the famous son of Maharaj Pariksit. His mother's name was Iravati, or according to some, Madravati. Maharaj Janamejaya begot 2 sons of the names Jnanatika. No. You get off. Yeah. Doctor?
I can stand now.
Doctor, you must do as I say. This is the one room where the patient gets to tell the doctor what to do. Okay. I mean, I've been just following doctor's orders like day after day, so we'll pay back time. Hare Krishna. Not at all. We're learning about the different characters surrounding Maharaj Pariksit. One of them was his son. Maharaj Janamejaya he celebrated several sacrifices in the Kurukshetra pilgrimage site, and he had three younger brothers named Shrutasena, Ugrasena, and Bhimasena II. He invaded Takshashila, Ajanta, and he decided to avenge the unlawful curse upon his great father, Maharaj Pariksit. He performed a great sacrifice called Sarpa Yagya to kill the race of serpents, including the Takshaka, which had bitten his father to death. On request from many influential demigods and sages, he had to change his decision to kill the race of snakes, but despite stopping the sacrifice, he satisfied everyone concerned in the sacrifice by rewarding them properly. In the ceremony, Mahamuni Vyasadeva was also present, and he personally narrated the history of the Battle of Kurukshetra before the king. Later on, by the order of Vyasadeva, his disciple Vaishampayana narrated before the king the subject matter of Mahabharata. He was much affected by his great father's untimely death and was very anxious to see him again. And he expressed his desire before the great sage Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva also fulfilled his desire. The father was present before him, and he worshipped both his father and Vyasadeva with great respect and pomp. Being fully satisfied, he most munificently gave charities to the brahmanas present at the sacrifice. Text 3. Maharaj Pariksit, after having selected Kripacharya for guidance as his spiritual master, performed 3 horse sacrifices on the banks of the Ganges. These were executed with sufficient rewards for the attendants, and at these sacrifices, even the common man could see demigods. Purport. It appears from this verse that interplanetary travel by the denizens of higher planets is easy. In many statements in Bhagavatam, we have observed that the demigods from heaven used to visit this earth to attend sacrifices performed by influential kings and emperors. Herein also we find that during the time of the horse sacrifice ceremony of Maharaj Pariksit, the demigods from other planets were visible even to the common man due to the sacrificial ceremony. The demigods are not generally visible to common men, as the Lord is not visible. But as the Lord, by his causeless mercy, descends to be visible to the common man, similarly, the demigods also become visible to the common man by their own grace. Although celestial beings are not visible to the naked eyes of the inhabitants of this earth, it was due to the influence of Maharaj Pariksit that the demigods also agreed to be visible. The kings used to spend lavishly during such sacrifices as a cloud distributes rains. A cloud is nothing but another form of water, or in other words, the waters of the earth transform into clouds. Similarly, the charity made by the kings in such sacrifices are but another form of the taxes collected from the citizens. But as the rains fall down very lavishly and appear to be more than necessary, the charity made by such kings also seems to be more than what the citizens need, than what the citizen needs. Satisfied citizens will never organize agitation against the king, and thus there was no need in changing the monarchical state. Even for a king like Maharaj Pariksit, there was need of a spiritual master for guidance. Without such guidance, one cannot make progress in spiritual life. The spiritual master must be bona fide, and one who wants to have self-realization must approach and take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master to achieve real success. Text 4. Once, when Maharaj Pariksit was on his way to conquer the world, he saw the master of Kali Yuga, who was lower than a Shudra, disguised as a king and herding the legs of a cow and bull. The king at once caught hold of him to deal sufficient punishment. Purport. The purpose of a king's going out to conquer the world is not for self-aggrandizement. Maharaj Pariksit went out to conquer the world after his ascendance to the throne. But this was not for the purpose of aggression on other states. He was the emperor of the world, and all small states were already under his regime. His purpose in going out was to see how things were going on in terms of the godly state. The king, being the representative of the Lord, has to execute the will of the Lord duly. There is no question of self-aggrandizement. Thus, as soon as Maharaj Pariksit saw that a lower-class man in the dress of a king was herding the legs of a cow and a bull, at once he arrested and punished him. The king cannot tolerate insults to the most important animal, the cow, nor can he tolerate disrespect for the most important man, the Brahmana. Human civilization means to advance the cause of Brahminical culture and to maintain it. Cow protection is essential. There's a miracle in milk, for it contains all the necessary vitamins to sustain human physiological conditions for higher achievements. Brahminical culture can advance only when man is educated to develop the quality of goodness, and for this there is a prime necessity of food prepared with milk, fruits, and grains. Maharaj Pariksit was astonished to see that a black Shudra, dressed like a ruler, was mistreating a cow, the most important animal in human society. The age of Kali means mismanagement and quarrel, and the root cause of all mismanagement and quarrel is that worthless men with the modes of lower-class men who have no higher ambition in life come to the helm of the state management. Such men at the post of a king are sure to first hurt the cow and the Brahminical culture, thereby punishing all society towards hell. Maharaj Pariksit, trained as he was, got the scent of this root cause of all quarrel of the world. Thus he wanted to stop it in the very beginning. Text 5. Shonaka Rishi inquired, why did Maharaj Pariksit simply punish him, since he was the lowest of the Shudras, having dressed as a king and having struck a cow on the leg? Please describe all these incidents as if they relate to the hot topics of Lord Krishna. Purport. Shonaka and the rishis were astonished to hear that the pious Maharaj Pariksit simply punished the culprit and did not kill him. This suggests that a pious king like Maharaj Pariksit should have at once killed an offender who wanted to cheat the public by dressing like a king and at the same time daring to insult the purest of the animals, a cow. The rishis in those days, however, could not even imagine that in the advanced days of the age of Kali, the lowest of the Shudras will be elected as administrators and will open organized slaughterhouses for killing cows. Anyway, although hearing about a Shudraka, who was a cheat and insulter of a cow, was not very interesting to the great rishis, they nevertheless wanted to hear about it to see if the event had any connection with Lord Krishna. They were simply interested in the topics of Lord Krishna, for anything that is dovetailed with the narration of Krishna is worth hearing. There are many topics in the Bhagavatam about sociology, politics, economics, cultural affairs, and so on, but all of them are in relation with Krishna, and therefore all of them are worth hearing. Krishna is the purifying ingredient in all matters, regardless of what they are. In the mundane world, everything is impure due to its being a product of the three mundane qualities. The purifying agent, however, is Krishna. Text 6. The devotees of the Lord are accustomed to licking up the honey available from the lotus feet of the Lord. What is the use of topics which simply waste one's valuable life? Purport. Lord Krishna and his devotees are both on the transcendental plane. Therefore, the topics of Lord Krishna and of his pure devotees are equally good. The battle of Kurukshetra is full of politics and diplomacy, but because the topics are related with Lord Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita is therefore adored all over the world. There is no need to eradicate politics, economics, sociology, etc., which are mundane to the mundaners. To a pure devotee who is actually related with the Lord, such mundane things are transcendental if dovetailed with the Lord or with his pure devotees. We have heard and talked about the activities of the Pandavas, and now we are dealing with the topics of Maharaj Pariksit. But because Hare Krishna. After work or before?
After.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
They got 4 hours a day.
Yeah. The troops are growing. Troops are growing. We will test my prophecy next year. See how many are here. We may have to relocate. Interesting. The first Mela, Kirtan Mela, happened in the room of Tamal Krishna Maharaj in Mayapur. And it just started out with 8 or 9 of us. And then word spread quickly. And by the first, I don't know, half an hour, or hour and a half, there were too many people to fit in the room. And people were like down the hallways and everything. And then at one point, Tamal Krishna Maharaj says, okay, what can we do? We got to take this public. So then we went down to the temple room, and that was the start of the wave of Kirtan Mela. So I anticipate that we're going to have a wave of hearing the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Yes, and you are all the pioneers. And do not think that you will not get amply rewarded spiritually. Hare Krishna. Okay. We have heard and talked about the activities of the Pandavas, and now we are dealing with the topics of Maharaj Pariksit. But because all these topics are related to the Lord Sri Krishna, they are all transcendental, and pure devotees have great interest in hearing them. We have already discussed this matter in connection with the prayers of Bhishma Dev. Our duration of life is not very long, and there is no certainty of when we shall be ordered to leave everything for the next stage. Thus it is our duty to see that not a moment of our life is wasted in topics which are not related with Lord Krishna. Any topic, however pleasant, is not worth hearing if it is devoid of its relation to Krishna. The spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan, the eternal abode of Lord Krishna, is shaped like the whorl of a lotus flower. Even when the Lord descends to any one of the mundane planets, he does so by manifesting his own abode as it is. Thus his feet remain always on the same big whorl of the lotus flower. His feet are as beautiful as the lotus flower. Therefore it is said that Lord Krishna has lotus feet. A living being is eternal by constitution. He is, so to speak, in the whirlpool of birth and death due to his contact with material energy. Freed from such material energy, a living entity is liberated and is eligible to return home back to Godhead. Keep your hands out of your mouth. Those who want to live forever without changing their material bodies should not waste valuable time with topics other than those relating to Lord Krishna and his devotees. Text 7. O Sutta Goswami, there are those amongst men who desire freedom from death and get eternal life. They escape the slaughtering process by calling the controller of death Yamaraj. Purport. The living entity, as he develops from lower animal life to higher human life, and gradually to higher intelligence, becomes anxious to get free from the clutches of death. Modern scientists try to avoid death by physiochemical advancement of knowledge. But alas, the controller of death, Yamaraj, is so cruel that he does not spare even the very life of the scientist himself. The scientist who puts forward the theory of stopping death by advancement in scientific knowledge becomes himself a victim of death when he is called by Yamaraj. What to speak of stopping death? No one can enhance the short period of life even by a fraction of a moment. The only hope of suspending the cruel slaughtering process of Yamaraj is to call him to hear and chant the holy name of the Lord. Yamaraj is a great devotee of the Lord, and he likes to be invited to kirtans and sacrifices by the pure devotees who are constantly engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus the great sages, headed by Shonaka and others, invited Yamaraj to attend the sacrifice performed in Naimisharanya. This was good for those who did not want to die. Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As long as Yamaraja, who causes everyone's death, is present here, no one shall meet with death. The great sages have invited the controller of death, Yamaraja, who is the representative of the Lord. Living beings who are under his grip should take advantage by hearing the deathless nectar in the form of this narration of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Purport. Every human being dislikes meeting death, but he does not know how to get rid of death. The surest remedy for avoiding death is to accustom oneself to hearing the nectarian pastimes of the Lord as they are systematically narrated in the text of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Shall I read that again? Okay. Oh, all right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I will. You can convince me. Okay. Twist my arm. Oh, not this way. The surest remedy for avoiding death is to accustom oneself to hearing the nectarian pastimes of the Lord as they are systematically narrated in the text of Srimad-Bhagavatam. I rest my case. It is advised herein, therefore, that any human being who desires freedom from death should take to this course of life as recommended by the rishis headed by Shonaka. Text 9. Lazy human beings with paltry intelligence and a short duration of life pass the night sleeping and the day performing activities that are for naught. Purport. The less intelligent do not know the real value of the human form of life. The human form is a special gift of material nature in the course of her enforcing stringent laws of miseries upon the living being. It is a chance to achieve the highest boon of life, namely, to get out of the entanglement of repeated birth and death. The intelligent take care of this important gift by strenuously endeavoring to get out of the entanglement. But the less intelligent are lazy and unable to evaluate the gift of the human body to achieve liberation from material bondage. They become more interested in so-called economic development and work very hard throughout life simply for the sense enjoyment of the temporary body. Sense enjoyment is also allowed to the lower animals by the law of nature, and thus a human being is also destined to a certain amount of sense enjoyment according to his past or present life. But one should definitely try to understand that sense enjoyment is not the ultimate goal of human life. Herein it is said that during the daytime one works for nothing because the aim is nothing but sense enjoyment. We can particularly observe how the human being is engaged for nothing in the great cities and industrial towns. There are so many things manufactured by human energy, but they are all meant for sense enjoyment and not for getting out of material bondage. And after working hard during the daytime, a tired man either sleeps or engages in sex habits at night. That is the program of materialistic civilized life for the less intelligent. Therefore, they are designated here as lazy, unfortunate, and short-lived. Text 10. Sutta Goswami said, while Pariksit Maharaj was residing in the capital of the Kuru Empire, the symptoms of the age of Kali began to infiltrate within the jurisdiction of his state. When he heard about this, when he learned about this, he did not think the matter very palatable. This did not, however, give him a chance to fight. This did, however, give him a chance to fight. He took up his bow and arrows and prepared himself for military activities. Purport. The state administration of Maharaj Pariksit was so perfect that he was sitting in his capital peacefully, but he got the news that the symptoms of the age of Kali had already infiltrated into the jurisdiction of his state, and he did not like this news. What are the symptoms of the age of Kali? They are 1. Illicit connection with women, 2. Indulgence in meat eating, 3. Intoxication, and 4. Taking pleasure in gambling. The age of Kali literally means the age of quarrel, and the above-mentioned 4 symptoms in human society are the root causes for all kinds of quarrel. Maharaj Pariksit heard that some of the people of the state had already taken to those symptoms, and he wanted to take immediate steps against such causes of unrest. This means that at least up to the regime of Maharaj Pariksit, such symptoms of public life were practically unknown, and as soon as they were slightly detected, he wanted to root them out. The news was not palatable to him, but in a way it was, because Maharaj Pariksit got a chance to fight. There was no need to fight with small states, because everyone was peacefully under his subordination. But the Kali Yuga miscreants gave his fighting spirit a chance for exhibition. A perfect Kshatriya king is always jubilant as long as he gets a chance to fight, just as a sportsman is eager when there is a chance for a sporting match. It is no argument that in the age of Kali such symptoms are predestined. If so, then why was there preparation for fighting out such symptoms? Such arguments are offered by lazy and unfortunate men. Let's go over that again. This is really important. It is no argument that in the age of Kali, such symptoms are predestined. If so, then why was there preparation for fighting out such symptoms? Such arguments are offered by lazy and unfortunate men. In the rainy season, rain is predestined, and yet people take precautions to protect themselves. Similarly, in the age of Kali, the symptoms, as above mentioned, are sure to infiltrate into social life, but it is the duty of the state to save the citizens from the association of the agents of the age of Kali. Maharaj Pariksit wanted to punish the miscreants indulging in the symptoms of Kali, and thus save the innocent citizens who were pure in habit by culture of religion. It is the duty of the king to give such protection, and Maharaj Pariksit was perfectly right when he prepared himself to fight. Text 11. Maharaj Pariksit sat on a chariot drawn by black horses. His flag was marked with the sign of a lion. Being so decorated and surrounded by charioteers, cavalry, elephants, and infantry soldiers, he left the capital to conquer all directions. Purport. Maharaj Pariksit is distinguished from his grandfather Arjuna, for black horses pulled his chariot instead of white horses. He marked his flag with the mark of a lion, and his grandfather marked his with the mark of Hanumanji. A royal procession like that of Maharaj Pariksit, surrounded by well-decorated chariots, cavalry, elephants, infantry, and band, not only is pleasing to the eyes, but also is a sign of a civilization that is ascetic even on the fighting front. Text 12. Maharaj Pariksit then conquered all parts of the earthly planet: Bhadrashva, Ketumala, Bharata, the northern Kuru, Kimpurusha, and so on, and exacted tributes from their respective rulers. Purport. Bhadrashva. It is a tract of land near Meru Parvata, and it extends from Gandhamadana Parvata to the saltwater ocean. There is a description of this Varsha in the Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, 7:14-18. The description was narrated by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. Maharaj Yudhisthira also conquered this Varsha, and thus the province was included within the jurisdiction of his empire. Maharaj Pariksit was formally declared to be the emperor of all lands ruled by his grandfather, but still he had to establish his supremacy while he was out of his capital to exact tribute from such states. Ketumala. This earth planet is divided into 7 dvipas by 7 oceans, and the central dvipa, called Jambu Dvipa, is divided into 9 varshas, or parts, by 8 huge mountains. Bharat Varsha is one of the above-mentioned 9 varshas, and Ketumala is also described as one of the above varshas. It is said that in Ketumala Varsha, women are the most beautiful. This Varsha is conquered by Arjuna also. A description of this part of the world is available in the Mahabharata, Sabha 28:6. It is said that this part of the world is situated on the western side of the Meru Parvata. Inhabitants of this province used to live up to 10,000 years. Human beings living in this part of the globe are of golden color, and the women resemble the angels of heaven. The inhabitants are free from all kinds of diseases and grief. Bharatavarsha. This part of the world is also one of the 9 varshas of Jambudvip. A description of Bharatavarsha is given in the Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, chapters 9 and 10. In the center of Jambudvipa is Ilavrita Varsha, and south of Ilavrita Varsha is Harivarsha. The description of these varshas is given in the Mahabharata as follows. It is mentioned here that the women in both these varshas are beautiful, and some of them are equal to the Apsaras. or heavenly women. Uttarakuru. According to Vedic geography, the northernmost portion of Jambudvip is called Uttarakuru Varsha. It is surrounded by saltwater ocean from three sides and is divided by Shringavan mountain from the Hiranmaya Varsha. Kimpurusha Varsha. It is stated to be situated north of the great Himalaya mountain, which is 80,000 miles in length and height, and which covers 16,000 miles in width. These parts of the world are also conquered by Arjuna. The Kimpurushas are descendants of a daughter of Daksha. When Maharaj Yudhishthira performed a horse sacrifice, yagya, the inhabitants of these countries were also present to take part in the festival, and they paid tributes to the emperor. This part of the world is called Kimpurusha Varsha, or sometimes the Himalayan provinces, Himavati. It is said that Shukadeva Goswami was born in these Himalayan provinces, and that he came to Bharata Varsha after crossing the Himalayan countries. In other words, Maharaj Pariksit conquered all the world. He conquered all the continents, adjoining all the seas and oceans in all directions, namely the eastern, western, northern, and southern parts of the world. Text 13 to 15. Wherever the king visited, he continuously heard the glories of his great forefathers, who were all devotees of the Lord, and also of the glorious acts of Lord Krishna. He also heard how he himself had been protected by the Lord from the powerful heat of the weapon of Ashwatthama. People also mentioned with great affection the great affection between the descendants of Vrishni and Pritha due to the latter's great devotion to Lord Kesava. The king, being very pleased with the singers of such glories, opened his eyes in great satisfaction. Out of magnanimity, he was pleased to award them very valuable necklaces and clothing. Purport. Kings and great personalities of the state are presented with welcome addresses. This is a system from time immemorial, and Maharaj Pariksit, since he was one of the well-known emperors of the world, was also presented with addresses of welcome in all parts of the world as he visited those places. The subject matter of those welcome addresses was Krishna. Krishna means Krishna and his eternal devotees, as the king means the king and his confidential associates. Krishna and his unalloyed devotees cannot be separated, and therefore glorifying the devotee means glorifying the Lord, and vice versa. Maharaj Pariksit would not have been glad to hear about the glories of his forefathers like Maharaj Yudhishthira and Arjuna had they not been connected with the acts of Lord Krishna. The Lord descends specifically to deliver his devotees, paritranaya sadhunam. The devotees are glorified by the presence of the Lord, because they cannot live for a moment without the presence of the Lord and his different energies. The Lord is present for the devotee by his acts and glories, and therefore Maharaj Pariksit felt the presence of the Lord when he was glorified by his acts, especially when he was saved by the Lord in the womb of his mother. The devotees of the Lord are never in danger, but in the material world, which is full of dangers at every step, the devotees are apparently placed into dangerous positions. And when they are saved by the Lord is glorified. Lord Krishna would not have been glorified as the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita had his devotees like the Pandavas not been entangled in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. All such acts of the Lord were mentioned in the addresses of welcome, and Maharaj Pariksit, in full satisfaction, rewarded those who presented such addresses. The difference between the presentation of welcome addresses today and in those days is that formerly the welcome addresses were presented to a person like Maharaj Pariksit. The welcome addresses were full of facts and figures, and those who presented such addresses were sufficiently rewarded. Whereas in the present days, the welcome addresses are presented not always with factual statements, but to please the post holder, and often they are full of flattering lies. And rarely are those who present such welcome addresses rewarded by the poor receiver. Pretty good stuff, huh? Okay, we'll stop here, the reading, and we'll ask for reflections from the Exalted Assembly. Yes, Krishna Kripa.
Just in the beginning of the story, when Maharaj was mentioned that Maharaj was involved with beating up his colleague and beating the cow. Before you got to the end of the purport part, I was already thinking, because the verse says they only wanted to hear about such a horrible thing if, so every statement was actually qualified to, if it really
Yes.
was Krishna, yes, we will listen.
Yes.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have listened.
Yes, correct.
I mean, they had that kind of fortitude. It's just amazing.
Correct. Yes.
To expand on that, what is the Mahabharata composed of, and why is it necessary to know about these parts of the world?
What is the Mahabharata consist of, and why is it necessary to know about these parts of the world? For the same reason that he says, because they all have relationship to Krishna and his devotees. The great devotees of the Lord appear in very many places, and all those places are glorified and purified, and they become sacred. In the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, there's also another, because sometimes Prabhupada indicates that this planet Earth as we know it is divided in such a way that these different varshas are described. And sometimes it's expanded to the Jambudvip, which is a larger area, across the middle of the universe as a kind of a plate, This is very mysterious, and there's a commentary named Vangshidhar, a commentator named Vangshidhar, who came not long after Sridhar Swami, who says that there's a reason why the 10th canto descriptions of these places and the Jyotish cosmology of the Jyotish, one of them describes things that you can't see when you look into the sky, and the others describe the same things as things you can see when you look at the sky. And the reconciliation for this is beyond our present discussion, because it would take a very long time. But my godbrother Sadhaputta was in the process of reconciling these apparent contradictions. Unfortunately left the world before he could finish his work, but I think there's some of his followers who are following through. So that's the reason. The reason the Mahabharata is the story of the events leading up to the Battle of Kurukshetra and the events immediately after the Battle of Kurukshetra. And it's called Mahabharata because India, at the time, India was the whole earth planet, which is called Bharatvarsha. So it's the Mahabharata is the history of the greater India, which we know it now as India, the greater India, which was the whole earth. Therefore, it is of value, and it is of, as Krishna Kripa said, and as you already said by your question, following up on that point that Krishna Kripa made. Something. Something. It's not everything. What time am I supposed to take that medicine again? The one the one I take regularly? Yeah.
What brand is it?
Yeah.
The one you could try?
Yeah. And get one if it's more than 6 hours. Yes, I'm feeling like I need it. Here. Lock it on your way out. Okay, let's hear it. The flow, the nectar's flow, and let's hear it. Yes?
Or this is, I don't know if it's a question, but I just feel frustrated, like, the last pillar of the leg of religion that Kali left was supposed to be truthfulness, and it's just so frustrating to see.
Well, it's not exactly like that. That's interpreted like that by some devotees sometimes in some classes. But the actual fact is that the 4 pillars of religion, they all go down. It's not that one goes, and then the other goes, and then the other goes, and then the other goes. It's not exactly like that. It's all of them are going down, and now practically one is only left, but there's not very many of any of them. Oh, thanks. Huh? Oh, yeah. This is good. Thank you. Cheers. For the service of the Lord. So I can keep doing this.
Keep on trucking.
What? We are going to keep on trucking. Just get on board and we'll keep on trucking. So, it's not surprising to hear a soft-hearted Vaishnavi feel frustrated seeing, truth being, shredded today. I don't know if you know this, but there's one really big guy that used to be called the Mayor of America who just made a statement, truth isn't truth anymore. That's how far it's gone. They'll say anything to get their way. We already heard some very nice purports about this, but it was the thing that I reflect on is how some of these purports were so precisely describing what's going on today, almost like he was looking into a crystal ball or something, Amazing details. Yes, Sarvat, you've got some controversy to bring up. Go ahead. Go for it.
What was that controversy? You would say that truth is still existing on a firm leg because the Bhagavatam is the embodiment of Krishna, and that's the truth. And by reading the Bhagavatam, like Prabhupada bringing the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Devotion, is maintaining the absolute truth and shining forward for everyone.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, there is truth left because of the Bhagavatam. That's true. But there's many commentaries that confirm this, and Prabhupada also confirms it. That it's not that, in the Satya Yuga, one of the legs go, and then in the next one, the next leg goes. It's not like that. They all go down together. But at the end of this time of Kali Yuga, then there's only one left, called the truthfulness, and it's going. And Prabhupada said that when this untruth, falsity, comes into the court system, then it will be that symptom that it's not long to. Then it's going to be gone soon. And that's happening right now. Even the Supreme Court of America, it's become political, completely political. It's supposed to protect, the law from those kind of politicians. And even the Supreme Court in India, by the way, which is very respected in the world, the Supreme Court of India, it's also now having some serious problems in terms of unity among the Supreme Court justices. Yes, so it's not that there isn't hope. There is hope because the Bhagavatam is here, and we know also from Prabhupada's teachings from Lord Chaitanya's teachings, that gradually the Krishna consciousness movement will become more and more influential, and we don't know exactly what its influence will be at the end, at the peak of its influence, but that will be 5,000 years from now. So lots of things are going to change before then. Yes?
Didn't Prabhupada say that High Court judges will have tilak at some point?
No, he said that he didn't say that. He didn't say that exactly. Let's say precisely what he said.
Okay.
He said, when the high court judges wear tilak, then we know that our preaching is successful.
Okay.
That's what he said. That's a little down the road.
I was thinking
But you know, it isn't like us Westerners and just in general in the world now, our angle of vision of anything, what to speak of history, is linear. You know, it's very linear. It's not lateral thinking, and it's black or white. It's true or not true or whatever. And you know, it's not that. It's not that everything's going to go linearly better. There's two forces always at work in the universe, and it'll never stop because that's the way it's created by the Lord. There's the asuric influence, or against the demigods, and the suric influence, or the devotees and the demigods. You know, and you know, there's periodically there's big conflicts among those. You know, the Hitler was one of them, you know, and anyway, you know, history, again and again, it's cyclical, and it keeps happening again and again. So it's not that just because we're increasing that, you know, Kali Yuga is going to go down and disappear. No, Kali Yuga is going to get, part of it's going to get stronger, you know, we will become more influential. As we do, those persons who are demoniac by nature, they'll become more vociferous, they'll become more heavy, and in some places, you know, it'll be very difficult for us, perhaps. We don't know the details, but we do know that we will increase in influence for 5,000 years. And a lot of things can happen in 5,000 years. A lot of things. Just think about it. What was the world like 5,000 years ago? We're reading about it. What will it be 5,000 years from now? We can also read about it. But in the Kali Yuga, in this golden age, we don't have that much detail about what will happen during that time. Yes, and this is going to be the end. Because I've got Vaisheshika Prabhu is waiting for me to come over there and finish editing a very small piece for him that's due tonight. Hare Krishna.
Rati Manjari asked, Dear Maharaj, is it important that we focus on the badness of this age, or should we focus rather on the greatness of preaching Krishna consciousness?
Both. You have to have a without a pessimistic attitude towards the Kali Yuga and materialistic life in general, we will get eventually swept away because we will become lax. We should not underestimate the power of the Kali Yuga right now in the material nature. So yes, we do want to concentrate on the glories of Krishna, but we also want to, you know, destroy the demoniac philosophy and the demoniac influence.
She said, and kind of ignore the fact that we live in the age of Kali.
Ignore the fact that we age in the age of Kali? Well, I mean, we can ourselves live in a spiritual world. Yeah, we should. We should live in the spiritual world. Each one of us is an individual, and we all together we're living in the spiritual world right now. This is the spiritual world. But don't artificially think that we shouldn't dwell on the things that are in the Bhagavatam to prepare us, because that's what it's for. All these things in the Bhagavatam, they're not dwelling on the Kali Yuga, they're explaining what's going on. It's like it's just said, just like it's going to rain. We know it's going to rain, but we carry an umbrella. We don't just ignore it and say, sunny days are ahead, in a sense. And then, you know, and get swept away by a flood, which, by the way, is happening right now in South India, big time. So no, we want to prepare. We have to understand, the positive side and the negative side. We have to understand both. We have to be well aware and prepared within ourselves not to get swayed by so-called, material advancement, which is being propagated like anything, is being progressive and, making progress. Yeah, we have to be clear about what is right and wrong, and what is evil and what is good. You were going to say something? No. I have to stop now. Thank you so much. What can I say? I'm overwhelmed by the response and by this atmosphere that's being created. It's as if I just started saying this just a few weeks ago, and already it's happening. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's show the audience. We'll show our audience. Okay, here we go. Starting with our Saint Doctor, and our second Saint Doctor, and our star, Bhaktin, and Vrindavaneshwari, the new initiate, and there's Rishabhadeva. And all of our other lovely devotees, look, and we're creating we're creating a scene here. And there's the best cook in the universe. I know, because I eat her food practically every day. And there you go. And it's working. It works. Hearing the Srimad-Bhagavatam every night, like this, systematically, as we heard. Shall we repeat it again? That sentence. Can you get that? Somebody get that sentence out? That sentence was. Are you getting it out? You're fast in the switch. You do Tama.
Was that really short before, right?
What?
Was that short before?
Yeah, that short one. I don't remember how many verses back.
Yes.
7, 8.
Huh?
7.
Got it? Got it? Huh?
8.
Yeah, 8. So
7, 8.
every human being dislikes meeting death.
The short is
There it is. Here it is.
Yes. Number 8.
The surest remedy for avoiding death is to accustom oneself to hearing the nectarian pastimes of the Lord as they are systematically narrated in the text of Srimad-Bhagavatam. And that is exactly what we're doing by vowing to read this systematically every night, no matter what, for the rest of our life. Hare Krishna. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Pariksit Maharaj ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Oh wait a second. Before we go, we have an announcement to make, and I almost forgot. Thank you. Somebody reminded me. Hare Krishna. Tomorrow night, we're going to have the reading at 6 o'clock rather than 6:30, and the reading is going to be done in the temple room, and we're going to go right from the reading into anyway. Oh my God. Quick, turn it off, quick. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Hare Bol. Hare Bol, Hare Bol.